Rhinoceroses are truly remarkable creatures, often referred to as armored tanks because of their immense size and tough, thick skin. Despite being herbivores, their sheer power and aggression make them one of the most formidable animals in the wild. A rhino's skin, which can be up to 2 inches thick in places, acts like armor, offering protection against predators, harsh environments, and even environmental hazards like thorns. There are 5 species of rhinos: the white rhino, black rhino, Indian rhino, Javan rhino, and Sumatran rhino. Each species has its own unique characteristics, but they all share the trait of having thick, tough skin that can withstand significant impacts. Rhinos are known to have bad tempers, particularly when they feel threatened. They have poor eyesight but a keen sense of smell, and they are highly territorial. If a rhino feels cornered or threatened, it can charge at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour, making it a dangerous opponent in the wild. This combination of size, strength, and speed, paired with their unpredictable temperaments, makes rhinos powerful animals to be respected from a distance. Despite their fearsome reputation, rhinos are endangered due to poaching and habitat loss. The illegal trade in rhino horns, which are valued for their supposed medicinal properties and as a status symbol, has put immense pressure on rhino populations. Conservation efforts are crucial to ensuring these majestic creatures don't disappear from the wild. Rhinos have existed for millions of years, with ancestors dating back to the early Eocene period, around 50 million years ago. While modern rhinos may look like a living relic from the past, they've evolved to adapt to their environment, including their massive size, thick skin, and solitary, territorial behavior. Their evolution has made them incredibly well-suited to the environments they inhabit, though unfortunately, human activity has pushed them to the brink of extinction in some areas. Physical features and adaptations. Rhinos are large, heavy animals, with males of certain species reaching up to 4,000 pounds or more. Their size alone is intimidating, but their physical armor is what truly sets them apart. The skin is primarily made of collagen fibers, arranged in thick layers that help to resist injuries from thorns, bites, and other hazards they encounter in their natural environments. The folds of skin also help keep their body temperature. One of the most iconic features of rhinos is their horns. Rhinos have either 1 or 2 horns, made of keratin, the same material found in human hair and nails. The horns are an evolutionary tool that has helped them thrive for millions of years, but sadly, it is also what makes them a target for poachers. Behavior and temperament. Rhinos are often thought of as solitary creatures, with many species preferring to live alone, especially males. However, some species like the white rhino are known to form small groups. Males are particularly territorial, and they mark their territory with dung or urine to warn other rhinos to stay away. This territorial behavior can lead to aggressive confrontations, especially when a rhino feels its space is being invaded. Though their vision is poor, rhinos make up for it with their excellent sense of smell and hearing. When they sense danger, they typically don't flee immediately, as they rely more on confrontation to defend themselves. A rhino's charging speed of up to 35 miles per hour, coupled with their size, makes them a serious threat to anything that threatens them. As large herbivores, they graze on grass, shrubs, and small trees, helping to control plant growth. This keeps vegetation from becoming overgrown and promotes the health of the habitat by allowing other plants to thrive. This makes rhinos vital to the health and balance of their ecosystems. Rhinos also serve as a keystone species, meaning their presence in the environment significantly impacts other species. For example, the grazing behavior of rhinos influences the types of vegetation that thrive in their territories, which in turn affects the animals that depend on those plants for food. Conservation efforts. Sadly, due to habitat loss, poaching for their horns, and conflicts with human populations, all 5 species of rhinos are either endangered or critically endangered. The black rhino and Javan rhino are particularly at risk, with populations of some subspecies plummeting to dangerously low numbers. Poaching, fueled by the demand for rhino horn in traditional medicine, and as a status symbol, remains one of the most significant threats to their survival. To combat this, there have been various conservation initiatives focused on protecting rhinos from poaching, monitoring their populations, and preserving their natural habitats. Anti-poaching units, rhino sanctuaries, and wildlife reserves have been set up, and some countries have implemented strict laws to protect these animals. Additionally, some conservation programs have worked on relocating rhinos to safer areas where they are less likely to be poached. Efforts have also been made to raise awareness about the importance of rhinos and the threats they face. Public education campaigns, ecotourism, and collaboration with local communities have all played a role in reducing poaching and improving the chances of rhinos surviving in the wild. The future of rhinos. While rhinos face an uncertain future, there is hope. Conservationists are working tirelessly to protect these armored tanks, and public awareness has increased in recent years. There are signs of recovery in some populations, particularly the southern white rhino, which was once near extinction, but has seen a resurgence due to intense conservation efforts. Rhino horns and their controversy. Rhino horns are one of the most highly coveted commodities in the world, which has led to widespread illegal poaching and the dramatic decline of rhino populations. People believe that rhino horn can cure ailments such as fever, headaches, and even cancer, but there is no scientific basis for these claims. Because of the high demand for rhino horn, poaching remains a persistent issue. Poachers kill rhinos for their horns, often using crude methods such as shooting them and then hacking off the horn while the rhino is still alive. The global trade in rhino horns is illegal, yet it thrives in black markets, often driven by wealthy individuals seeking the horns for their supposed aphrodisiac properties, or as a symbol of prestige. In response, many countries and organizations have implemented anti-poaching laws and have begun to engage in legal battles with illegal traders. Some conservationists have even advocated for the dehorning of rhinos, in which their horns are removed in a safe manner so that poachers cannot kill them for the horn. While this strategy is controversial, it has been successful in certain cases by reducing the incentive for poachers. Nonetheless, rhinos still face a massive threat from the illegal wildlife trade. Rhino poaching and the role of technology in conservation. Advancements in technology have greatly improved anti-poaching efforts in recent years. Drones, for example, are increasingly being used in rhino conservation to monitor large, remote areas for poachers. They allow conservationists to track rhino populations without disturbing the animals and provide real-time data on potential poaching activities. Additionally, satellite imaging is being employed to track habitat loss and monitor the health of rhino populations. Some organizations have even turned to innovative methods like implanting microchips or using GPS collars to track individual rhinos. These technologies provide detailed real-time data on the movement of rhinos, helping conservationists keep them safe and identify poaching hotspots. There's also been an increased use of surveillance cameras, infrared sensors, and even wildlife rangers equipped with high-tech tools. These cameras are hidden in the environment to capture footage of poachers or alert rangers to suspicious activity. It's a blend of old-school conservation efforts and cutting-edge technology, and it's proving to be a valuable resource in the ongoing fight against rhino poaching. Rhino conservation success stories. While rhino conservation faces immense challenges, there are some success stories that offer hope. The southern white rhino is one of the most remarkable examples of species recovery. In the early 1900s, the southern white rhino was on the brink of extinction, with fewer than 100 individuals remaining in the wild, primarily in South Africa. Today, thanks to aggressive conservation efforts and protection, the population has rebounded to over 18,000. This recovery is largely attributed to intensive management, including anti-poaching patrols, habitat protection, and rhino monitoring programs. Similarly, the Indian rhino population has also made a remarkable comeback, with numbers rising from as few as 100 individuals in the early 20th century to over 3,500 today, thanks to conservation efforts in India and Nepal. The success of these species shows that, with the right interventions, recovery is possible. However, these successes do not mean that the fight is over. The black rhino, a more endangered species, is still in decline, with fewer than 5,000 individuals remaining in the wild. Conservationists are working on securing the future of black rhino relocation and rewilding. Another interesting development in rhino conservation is the relocation of rhinos to new, safer areas, as rhino populations have become concentrated in certain areas. The risk of poaching has increased, and habitat degradation has taken its toll. For instance, in Africa, rhinos have been relocated to areas with fewer human encroachments, such as private reserves, where they are better protected. Similarly, there are efforts to reintroduce rhinos into regions where they have been extinct for decades, such as the introduction of rhinos into Zambia after they disappeared from the area in the 1980s. The hope is that through these initiatives, rhinos will be able to repopulate areas and create more genetic diversity within their populations. These efforts, part of a larger rewilding movement, aim to restore species to ecosystems where they once played an important role, balancing the local flora and fauna. It's a long-term approach to restoring biodiversity and ensuring that rhinos, as well as other species, have a place in the wild for generations to come. Rhinos in culture and symbolism. Beyond their biological and ecological importance, rhinos have also played significant roles in human culture. Many indigenous communities and ancient cultures revered rhinos as symbols of strength, resilience, and endurance. In African and Asian folklore, rhinos were sometimes seen as protective creatures or symbols of power. Rhino imagery can be found in art, literature, and mythology. In some African cultures, rhinos were seen as symbols of royalty, with their thick skin and imposing size representing the strength and authority of kings and queens. Public awareness campaigns often use rhinos as a focal point to highlight the importance of wildlife conservation. Their iconic image has become a powerful tool in promoting environmental activism and raising funds for conservation projects around the world. As such, rhinos have transcended their role as simply animals. They have become an emblem of the broader effort to preserve biodiversity and protect the planet's endangered species. Rhinos and their interaction with other species. In their native ecosystems, rhinos play a significant role, not only in shaping the landscape but also in influencing the populations and behaviors of other species. Their feeding habits, movement patterns, and territorial nature affect many aspects of the environment and the creatures that share their habitats. Impact on vegetation. As herbivores, rhinos consume large amounts of grasses, shrubs, and small trees, shaping the plant community and their environment. Their grazing behavior prevents overgrowth of certain plant species and promotes a diverse mix of vegetation. By trimming down shrubs and trees, rhinos help maintain the open savanna or grassland ecosystems, allowing new plant species to grow and creating space for other herbivores to thrive. This grazing creates a mosaic of different plant types, benefiting not only the rhinos, but also a wide variety of smaller animals, birds, and insects that depend on the vegetation. In some cases, rhinos can act as ecosystem engineers by disturbing the soil and vegetation through their movement, grazing, and wallowing behavior. They create environments for other species to live in. For instance, when rhinos wallow in mud or waterholes to cool off, they create depressions that are later used by other animals for drinking or shelter. Relationship with other herbivores. Rhinos, due to their large size and territorial nature, often impact the populations of other herbivores in their territories. They may drive away smaller herbivores from certain grazing areas, asserting dominance over their feeding grounds. For example, some smaller herbivores, like zebras or antelopes, may choose different parts of the same habitat to graze when rhinos occupy key areas. This division of grazing grounds can reduce competition for food and support the coexistence of various species. Interestingly, the presence of rhinos can also encourage symbiotic relationships with other animals. Birds such as oxpeckers or cattle egrets are often seen feeding on parasites found on the rhino's skin, particularly around the ears, back, and tail. In return, these birds benefit from an easy meal while helping to keep the rhinos free of pests. This kind of mutualistic relationship is common in the wild and is another example of the interconnectedness of nature. Rhinos and predators. While adult rhinos have few natural predators due to their size and strength, their young are more vulnerable in areas where lions or other large predators are present. Rhino calves can sometimes fall victim to attacks, though it is relatively rare. The sheer size and strength of an adult rhino make it difficult for predators to take them down, and rhinos will fiercely protect their young from any threats. Interestingly, rhinos are also known to exhibit behaviors that deter predators. When a rhino senses a predator, it will often charge at it, making it very dangerous for any animal to try to take down a full-grown rhino. This instinctual defense mechanism has evolved over millions of years to ensure the rhino's survival. Rhinos in the African savanna. In Africa, rhinos play a particularly important role in the savanna ecosystem. White rhinos, which are typically larger and more social than their black rhino cousins, are known to graze on large expanses of grassland. By consuming vast amounts of grass, they help prevent certain types of vegetation from becoming too dominant, which allows other species of plants and animals to thrive. Without rhinos, some grasslands could become overgrown, affecting the biodiversity that depends on these ecosystems. Additionally, rhinos are often considered keystone species in the African savanna. Keystone species are those that have a disproportionately large effect on their environment, relative to their abundance or biomass. In the case of rhinos, their grazing, browsing, and as human populations expand, rhinos are forced to share their habitats with people, often leading to tensions over land use, food resources, and territory. One of the most significant challenges is habitat loss. As cities, towns, and agricultural areas expand, rhino habitats shrink, forcing these animals into smaller and more fragmented areas. This can lead to increased interactions with human populations, often with negative consequences for both rhinos and humans. In some cases, rhinos may wander into farmlands or villages in search of food, leading to crop destruction, or even attacks on humans if they feel threatened. Rhino conservation efforts aim to mitigate these issues by creating wildlife corridors, protected paths that allow rhinos and other wildlife to safely move between fragmented habitats. These corridors help reduce the chances of conflict between humans and rhinos, and allow rhinos to find food and water more easily while avoiding human settlements. The role of ecotourism in rhino conservation. In regions like southern Africa, countries like South Africa, Kenya, and Namibia have implemented wildlife tourism programs that generate revenue to support conservation efforts. Tourists from around the world visit wildlife reserves and national parks to see rhinos in their natural habitats. The money generated through ecotourism helps fund anti-poaching efforts, habitat preservation, and research programs that benefit rhino populations. These ecotourism programs also raise awareness about the plight of rhinos and other endangered species. Visitors learn about the challenges these animals face and the importance of conservation, which can inspire more people to. In some cases, tourists even participate in activities like rhino monitoring or tracking programs, directly contributing to the conservation process. In addition to helping protect rhinos, ecotourism offers economic benefits to local communities, providing jobs for guides, rangers, and other staff members involved in wildlife management. This creates a direct link between wildlife conservation and economic development, making it more feasible for local communities to support and protect their natural resources. The role of genetics in rhino conservation. One of the lesser-known challenges in rhino conservation is the management of their genetic diversity. As rhino populations decline, genetic bottlenecks become a concern. With fewer individuals in the wild, the gene pool becomes more limited, and inbreeding can result in the loss of vital genetic traits that help rhinos survive in changing environments. This can increase the risk of diseases and reduce the overall resilience of the species. Conservationists are working to maintain genetic diversity through various programs, including breeding programs and controlled environments. In some cases, rhinos from different regions are bred to introduce new genetic material into populations and reduce the risk of inbreeding. Genetic research is also being used to monitor the health and genetic diversity of rhino populations in the wild, guiding conservationists in making. By using genetic data, scientists can ensure that future rhino populations have the best possible chance of survival in the wild. A call to action. The plight of rhinos is a critical issue that requires global attention. As one of the most iconic and endangered species, rhinos represent the broader challenges of wildlife conservation, including habitat loss, poaching, and the impacts of human activity on the environment. Saving rhinos means protecting their ecosystems, combating illegal wildlife trade, and preserving biodiversity for future generations. Rhinos and their role in indigenous cultures and traditional beliefs.